let's restart the song again and jump right in to 1999. The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, where we used to read out the date on the blackboard every single day. The year 1999 exists as a stain in my mind, however, as a memory that will not go away no matter how I try to forget it. 1999 marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and unfortunately the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refused to be wiped. It all started with that new, or old, TV. At the time, Pokemon was the latest fad to hit school. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30, and Pokemon episodes were back-to-back, which meant I had to miss an episode every day. Something I whined on about. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day, and that must be why he went and bought another TV. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old, small boob tube with rabbit ears, even. It also only had 20 channels available, not including the channel that had Pokemon, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care, though. I was just thrilled I had my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that only Channel 2, TVO Kids, was worth watching, so I watched that for a while. It wasn't for another few months until I discovered Channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels, trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed Channel 21 into the remote, hoping there were more channels, and to my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have a kids program on. The channel is called Caledon Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed broadcasted from the town of Caledon, Ontario, a town very close to my city. The shows I saw on Caledon Local 21 looked poorly made, and I never understood what was going on in them half the time. However, as I grew up, every time I thought of the channel, I realized more and more how messed up the shows were. And I had to ask myself, what the fuck was I watching? The following is a list of shows and episodes I remember seeing on Caledon Local 21. How I remember such detail even disturbs me, but I guess things like this stand out in your mind for a while. The channel only ran a few short shows, probably because it was only operational between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Mr.Bear's Cellar, episode 12. Very sketchy name if you were to look at it nowadays. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mascot costume who would get a new visitor into his cellar every day. It was always a kid. The show was filmed with a camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. The episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at a table, playing checkers by himself. He sat there playing for a bit until there was a knock on the door. The camera was then looking up the stairs at the door, where there was another knock. Mr. Bear climbed the stairs and opened the door to reveal two young children. One was a boy about my age, and the other was a girl who looked about 8. Mr. Bear danced in delight and then started talking to the kids. I couldn't hear any of them that well, I remember. Mr. Bear then led the kids into the cellar, which was quite dark, only lit by a small oil lamp on the table. I can't really remember that much more, except him singing a song which I couldn't hear too well either. Probably because of that large bear mask. The episode ended with them playing hide and seek, with the kids hiding in the closet and Mr. Bear counting. That was April 1999. Well, all of them are 1999, obviously, but that was April. May 1999. Soup and Spoon. I don't think this was even a show. I think it was more of a special movie thing. All I know is I stopped watching Caledon Local 21 for a while because I thought this show was too stupid, especially since Pokemon now came on at 4:30 and 5. I don't remember much of this. Get out of my chat. I'm not buying any bots, bro. Sorry. I've been getting one message like that almost every stream. It's absurdly frustrating. And it's the same fucking message every time. You'd think that they'd be, like, auto-caught and removed for me, but whatever. Where was I? I don't remember much of this, but it showed a can of soup and a spoon both attached to strings, swinging back and forth, as if someone was holding them and dangling them in front of the camera. Interestingly enough, the show was shot in a basement, which looked just like the one used in Mr. Bear's cellar. Like I said, I can't remember much. The only thing I can remember clearly was the end. He says I can't remember much over and over and over again. Am I being too overdramatic? Has he not said it as much as I think he said it? The entire thing was only half an hour, and just included stuff I found stupid, such as the spoon chasing the soup around trying to eat him. The ending showed a table and about 7 kids sitting around it, each with a bowl of soup in front of them. They were sitting and looking at the camera, but with confused, almost frightened faces. The cameraman then held the can of soup in front of the kids and said, "Spoons ready?" And then it just stopped. I like this still. I'm getting into the story. This one is much better than the last two. Last two? How many have we read so far? Because I liked Licking. Licking was fine. Eyeless Jack wasn't. I think we only read 2 so far. I'm already losing track of what we read. Whatever. Point is I'm into this one already. I'm kind of already wanting to see where this goes. It was July 1999. It was summer, and I had watched Channel 21 for a while until one day I slept over at a friend's house and decided to check it out again. Oh, I haven't watched. Sorry. I haven't watched Channel 21 for a while. Until one day when I slept over at a friend's house. My friend had gotten a TV in his room for his 6th birthday, so we stayed up very late. For us, 9:30 was very late. And watched TV. That's why I remembered Channel 21 and brought it up to my friend. We decided to see if it was on, and to our surprise, it was. They must have changed the broadcast timing. Mr.Bear Cellar, episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and me, mainly because it had swearing. However, now when I think about this episode, I realize something was definitely wrong when it was filmed. The episode started with the camera on its side while it was facing Mr. Bear, who was walking upstairs to the cellar's door. The camera then blacked out for a second. I can't play this one. This is a movie song. I can't play this one. This is a movie song. Sorry. However, Mr. Bear walking up to the cellar door. The camera then blacked out for a second before fading in, back upright and facing Mr. Bear. There was also another kid talking to him, but this kid looked about 11 or 12. He was talking to Mr. Bear for a while, but I couldn't hear well, again with the crappy camcorder, until the kid started raising his voice. The kid was saying how it was late and his sister had to go home. You could also hear more voices in the background. I remember Mr. Bear clearly saying, "Get the fuck out, you're not invited," with a deep voice muffled by the bear mask. I remember my friend and I looking at each other and laughing at the mention of the forbidden F word, but the episode got weirder. The kid began climbing the stairs before turning around and saying how he was going to call the police. Mr. Bear began breaking into a run towards the kid, who started screaming and running as well. The camera then cut out, and that was the end of the episode. The channel turned to static shortly after. How could you be broadcasting this without, like, a cop or something catching the channel or whatever? I guess because it's like a hidden channel that can only be picked up by old TVs or something? Or, I don't understand, whatever. August 1999. I didn't want to watch Channel 21 after that. In August, I grew more curious to see Mr. Bear's Cellar for some reason, though. The last episode I saw of Mr. Bear was weird and had swearing, which also made me think the show was meant for teenagers. Nonetheless, I flipped on to Channel 21 when my dad was busy. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 28. Apparently this episode had been playing the entire month of August. It was studied a lot by the police. Okay, so the police are looking at this. The entire episode was just Mr. Bear sitting in a chair talking to the audience.
Hello, kids. Do you want to visit my cellar? If you do, please write me a letter at this address.
The screen then switched to a white screen with the multicolored letters reading the address. And that's what remained for the rest of the episode. It's repeated for 5 hours every day until September came, so the cops are aware of this channel. And he just plastered his address onto the show for a month straight. And nobody went to investigate? I might be jumping ahead of myself. Someone must have went to investigate, but like... What? Oh, please don't tell me this one aged poorly. Well, we'll see. Let's not jump the gun. Let's see what comes of this. And guess what I actually did? I sent Mr.Bear, or that sick bastard who betrayed him, a letter. I did it out of curiosity, mostly. My dad was okay with it because he thought it was a legit kid show. But then again, he never saw any of what was on Channel 21. So I wrote a letter, using my best writing possible. I think I just said how I wanted to meet Mr. Bear, so my dad sent the letter to the address Mr. Bear said on the show. It stayed on all day anyway for some reason. I guess the address could be like a P.O. box, right? And not his real address. Just where he gets the letters. But it would still be a place to, like, stake out, if anything. It took about a week to get a response, which I was surprised I did. I still have the letter I received on August 15th, 1999. The letter reads,
Dear Elliot, thank you ever so much for your letter. I would love to have you in my cellar. We play games, watch movies, and go fire camping in the middle of the woods. Come to my house at... The police cut out this address. Caldon, Ontario, Canada. I look very forward to having fun with you. Love, Mr. Bear.
I cannot believe my dad never found this sketch sheet. Worst dad. Because he actually took me to the house! What? What kind of father do you have, kid? Like, I get it's a TV show. Alright, listen. I get he thinks it's a TV show. But if my kid ever received a letter saying,
Well, I'm gonna have such fun with you in my cellar,
I would never even consider. I would take the fucking TV away. What the fuck? Are you fucking kidding me? My dad took me to the house. Jesus Christ. Alright. Okay. Worst father of the year. Holy shit. And then, that's when the police became involved. Those endless questions, those pictures of terrified kids, the woods. That brings me to why I'm writing this blog. That psycho and his friends did some fucked up shit back then, and now it seems he's trying to get into contact with me again. The entire police thing is coming back. That has brought 1999 back to me. Over a decade later. It's happening again. Update, November 14th. Okay, so wait, before I move forward, because now we're doing a time skip. I liked the vibe of the weird episodes. I always love stuff like that. It's also why I like doing creepypastas sometimes, even if they're real shit. I just like descriptors of weird things happening, and each episode he described was pretty cool. It was very eerie. He is mentioning that the police did get involved, so that's kind of being squashed as a complaint. And, I guess people can make stupid decisions, like his fucking father bringing him to Mr. Bear's cellar. So far, it's good, actually. I have a few complaints. I had a few complaints. There's still plenty of story left. But, So far, I'm still into this, even if I was kind of dragged out a little bit a couple of times. We're gonna keep going. We're jumping into a time skip here. So, update, November 14th, 2009. People have been emailing me asking what exactly happened in 1999. I will get to that. Those weird TV shows I was watching apparently were meant to attract kids to Mr. Bear's house. What Mr. Bear did shocked the entire town. Oh god, are we getting into, like, fucked up territory? Okay. Potential content warning, everyone. Just, let's keep that in mind. My dad actually drove me to Caledon along with the address Mr. Bear left on the letter. The house was actually in the outskirts of town, in the open farmland. I still remember that house. It looked like an older farmhouse that looked to have been built in the early 1900s. The windows were all boarded up, and the house looked in a state of disrepair. As we walked up to the house, I remember my dad checking the address over and over again and looking at the house in disbelief. Then the door opened. Okay, if the father doesn't get him out of there, it's like this weird old house in the middle of the woods. If his dad doesn't see this man and get him the fuck out of there, then I'm gonna crash out. I expected Mr. Bear to be at the door, but I was surprised to see a police officer emerge from the creaking doorway. The officer began talking to my dad while I quickly asked if that was Mr. Bear's house. The officer's face cringed slightly, and he muttered, "Oh God," or something like that. He started talking quietly to my dad so I couldn't hear, although my dad told me to go into the car anyway. And then we just went home. Good. My dad was quiet the whole way home. I felt something strange had happened. My dad never told me what happened for a while. I forgot about it anyway, too. Channel 21 no longer came on, and when I asked about it, my dad would not acknowledge its existence. I think it was when I was 13 where I learned the truth. I remembered Channel 21 one day and asked my dad about it. I guess he finally decided I should hear the truth. Caledon Local 21 was a local TV channel that ran from October 1997 to August 1999 in the Peel region of Ontario. The entire channel was made from a house in Caledon, the one I visited, and run by a man who was not really known by anyone in the town. The channel was only available to older TVs because the signal was one only picked up by rabbit ears, weaker frequency. The man... Oh, rabbit ears is a slang for the intent. Okay. I thought his dad literally bought him like a cutesy TV with fake rabbit ears on it. Alright, okay. Alright, that makes sense. Okay. The man created all the shows on the channel, all of which were kid shows. He was Mr. Bear, and he was the mysterious cameraman. The real reason he created the channel was more disturbing than what was originally thought. As you might have already guessed, he kidnapped kids and held them in his cellar. But while most people thought he was a serial child molester, he really wanted to use the kids for another purpose. I mean, it's horrible in any regards. Like, off limits, it's absolutely horrible. It's good he was not a molester, at least, I will say. If it's Satan worship, that is infinitely better. But it's bad. Don't kidnap kids, okay? Let's not do that. Oh, Jesus, alright. The day I arrived, the man had fled his house the night before. The day before the police went in for their investigation, I wasn't the only one who was watching. Update December 2nd, 2009. Sorry for not answering any questions for so long. I haven't accessed my email account for some time. Anyway, let me finally set things straight about what I know. Back in October, I visited the house previously owned by the man who ran Caledon Local 21. 2 women lived there, operating a daycare business. How ironic. Now to answer the questions you guys emailed to me. Question. Who else watched Caledon Local 21? Answer. I know other people watched it for sure, including those kids who wound up at Mr. Bear's house, After some Google searches, I found a few people on NeoSeeker forums who were discussing shows from Caledon Local 21. They talked about the 2 shows I watched, but also another 2 shows I've never seen before. A user named I Am Real Life seemed to know all the shows that were broadcasted on Channel 21. Here are the 2 I've never heard of. The Fallen Angel and Life. I Am Real Life described it as a fairly boring show about a guy rambling on in front of a camera about how we must please Satan and appease him before it's too late. Paint with the Soul. I'm Real Life and another user called Seaguy92 were discussing the show. They described it as Blair Witch-like, as it consisted of the cameraman wandering around a forest at night doing nothing particularly interesting. I take offense to that. Blair Witch is fucking amazing. I will go looking for the conversation and see if I can get a link. Question: where's Mr.Bear, or the guy who wore the costume? Answer: if I did know, I would have said earlier. I have no idea where this guy is, or if he's dead or alive. Hopefully dead. When I see my dad's friend next time, I'll ask him about this. Maybe I can get a more definitive answer. Question: what did Mr. Bear do to the children? Answer: this is by far the most common question I've been asked. I found this out in October as well via my dad's friend, who is a retired Calgon regional officer. Apparently, the man playing Mr. Bear took the kids out of the house and into the forest nearby. And what he did there, police are not exactly sure how it happened, but 16 charred bodies of children between the ages of 4 and 13 were found in a 15 by 15 foot ditch deep within the forest. My dad's friends did not want to go into exact details, but I'm seeing him next Thursday anyway, so maybe I can extort more information from him then. I called the fucking Satan sacrifice. I got 50 vision. So much better than 2020. I can see the fucking future, dude. But I mean, I think it was kind of, well, I called it before I read about Angel in the Life, where he was rambling about Satan or whatever. So he burned these kids in like a ritual sacrifice for Satan to appease him. Why are we listening to the Moonlight Sonata? Next. I mean, I like the Moonlight Sonata, but it's not scary. Alright. But yeah, I fucking called that shit. Well, I mean, that's kind of where this stuff always falls into, right? It's either ritual sacrifice or no zone. That's always the only 2 directions these horror stories go in, for some reason. That's all I have for now. Thanks for keeping an interest in my blog. I will try to gather as much information as I can for my next post. I've actually been getting pretty interested in this myself. It should be my right to know what the hell happened. I don't know why my voice was going up an octave for those lines. I don't know. Update, January 14th, 2010. I'm sorry I haven't posted anything in a while. I kind of lost interest in this blog since I hit a standstill while looking for more information about the identity of the owner of Caledon Local 21. However, a few weeks ago I struck gold. I found some answers surprisingly from the father of a kid I used to babysit. He lived just across from my street, and I used to look after his kids when they were younger. He currently doesn't have a job, either. He used to live near the woods outside of Caledon and witnessed the owner's activities in the woods. His name was Anthony Polo. Wait, so there was a guy who saw? He didn't tell anyone? I mean, I guess that's why the police became involved. He probably did tell someone, and then the kid showed. Alright. When he lived in the small bungalow outside the woods, he would often venture into the smoke a joint of marijuana or 2 before returning to his work as a woods craftsman. Apollo described that sometimes he would hear voices of children coming from deeper in the woods, as well as glowing lights off in the distance. Apollo told me that these events started in late 1997. This used to be around the time Caledon Local 21 began airing. He apparently became annoyed by this happening every once in a while and actually went to investigate. Polo then described what the whole scene looked like when he got there. There was a group of kids, he said about 13 to 17, and ages 5 to 12 gathered around the large fire pit with a burning fire. With them, a single adult. Polo talked to the man, noting his unusual, unkempt appearance of a crack addict, as well as his constant twitching, and asked what he was doing out in the forest with children. The man said they were on a camping trip, something they did frequently. Polo, not suspecting anything, Caledon has one of the lowest crime rates in Canada, simply left it at that and told them to be quieter. Okay. Polo then paused for a while before telling me that they never became quieter. In fact, sometimes he heard loud chanting from the children in an unknown language. He didn't bother meeting with the man again as he was moving away. I told Polo that the man was probably the owner of Caledon Local 21, but he doubted it, as he heard that the man was moving to Pickering by several other residents near that area. Here's what I know now. The man would take kids into the woods regularly for camping. The fire pit Polo described may be... The fire pit Polo described may be the hole the bodies of children were found in. The children Polo saw are probably the ones found dead, and the man moved to a city called Pickering, a smaller city east of Toronto. I'll discuss this with my dad's friend, the ex-cop, and see if this matches anything the police knew about the man. What the fuck is this song? Alright, hold on, I gotta pull it back. To more recognizable. I don't know what the fuck that was we were listening to. The man moved to a city... yeah, I read that. I will discuss this with my dad's friend, the ex-cop, and see if this matches anything the police knew about the man. I also want to see if he had any other knowledge of what was aired on Caledon Local 21. Update, February 10th, 2010. Good news, guys. I talked to my dad's friends, and he disclosed a lot of information for me. First, I asked if the police had any information on the man who ran Caledon Local 21. He replied that they have only had the same leads for years and never found a suspect. However, the Peel Regional Police do have some of the tapes found in the house of Caledon Local 21 was broadcasted from. I've read that horribly. Hold on a second. However, the Peel Regional Police do have some of the tapes found in the house Caledon Local 21 was broadcasted from. He took me over so I could watch a few. I guess I haven't said much about him yet. My dad's friend's name is Mitchell Wilson. A pretty nice guy. He seemed to understand my thirst for knowledge and what happened during the late 90s in that house. He feels it was wrong that my dad went so long without telling me much. I was trying to protect you from the knowledge of you almost died in ritual sacrifice. He took me to David's Road Police Station. If you don't know, it's the largest station in Caledon, and one of the largest within the Peel region itself. Each of the main stations around Peel have some of the tapes. I was able to watch all the footage that the... Jesus, I'm so fucking... Am I reading right now? Sorry. I was able to watch all of the footage that the Davis Road Station has. Unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to take any of the tapes home for obvious reasons. Paint with the Soul, Episode 10. Garbage Thrown Away. Paint with the Soul was one of the shows that I'm Real Life and Sigai 92 discussed on Neoseeker. I told the police about this, and they informed me that 12 episodes of the show were made and broadcasted between December 5th in 1997 and January 8th, 1998. Exactly as I Am Real Life and Sigai 92 described, the episode opened with a cameraman wandering around the forest. It appeared to be during the evening, as it seemed the sun was setting. The cameraman walked along a path until he got to the area where there was a lot of garbage lying on the leaves. The camera looked around at the various wrappers, bottles, bags, and boxes, making sure each item got a few seconds of screen time. The camera then focused on a single area before the man spoke. I recall he spoke in a very timid, quiet voice, and I swear I've heard it somewhere else before, like on another Caledon Local 21 show. I could barely hear what he was saying, but he mainly talked about how humans are garbage, or something that had to do with saving ourselves by cleaning up the garbage. It actually sounded really stupid, but still, a feeling of dread came over me. I mean, that forest was possibly where those bodies were found. right? Mr.Bear, Cellar, episode 25. When the police administrator brought this tape in, I actually said, "Oh shit," and chuckled a bit out loud. Of course, I got stares from the staff, but Wilson explained to them about my little experience with Mr. Bear and how I still kept the letter he sent me. Like the previous episodes, this one included a guy wearing a bear mascot costume. The episode began with Mr. Bear waddling over to his cellar door with a bottle of orange juice in his paws. On the ground were 16 shot glasses, as well as a small bottle that contained an unknown liquid. Mr. Bear poured an equal amount of orange juice into each glass before opening the smaller bottle and depositing one drop into the glasses. Oh no. Mr. Bear then went off camera. There were some minor sounds such as shuffling, and then Mr. Bear emerged from behind the camera's location. Following him were 16 children. Some looked as young as 4, while others looked like they were practically teenagers. As the children entered, the administrator commented that this is the only episode that showed all 16 victims. The kids all looked rather content, except for this one who had visible bruises on his face, and unlike the other kids, he had a more fearful expression. He also looked about 11, 12, which caused me to recognize him. He was the kid who asked about his sister, and subsequently met an unknown fate at the end of episode 23, that one episode I watched during July 1999. When I told the administrator this, he confirmed it was the same kid. He was also featured in episode 24, an episode that only aired once at 3 in July 1999. The police still have not found the tape. Mr. Bear then broke it. How do they know he was in it then? If they didn't find the tape, how do they know that the kid was shown again in that? Oh, because it only aired once. So they probably, like, profiled him, but they don't have the tape to, like, confirm or see what happened. Or remember, or, like, study what happened. Mr. Bear then broke into a song singing about citrus fruits and how good vitamin C was for you. I could barely hear the lyrics as they were muffled by the bear mask. The kids all drank their juice, the one from episode 23 doing it rather reluctantly, and the episode ended. After viewing the tapes in possession of the Davis Road Police Station, I'm satisfied, but only temporarily. I still want to know the full story. The police just kept giving me the same crap about how the creator of Caldon Local 21 being a fetishist pedophile, as well as an apparent cultist. I'll sign off for now. Get into university first and get information later. Hopefully I'll get back to this blog as soon as possible. So, where can the story go from here? Because we know it's about a crazy dude who does child sacrifice. If the rest of the story is just talking about the shows and the creepy shit that happens in them, I suppose that'll be okay, because it's fun listening to all these creepy things, and like imagine if you were watching these, imagine if you like saw these really low quality, muffled, hard to hear, like spooky ass tapes. It's fun to like be in that position of like watching something scary. One of the scariest movies of all time, in my opinion, Sinister, was really good because I really liked the vibe of sitting in a room and just watching these tapes, these like fucked up, cursed tapes. It kind of gives this vibe that's really hard to get from most other movies or stories, which is it's very creepy, but it's comfy. Because you're in the comfort of your own home, it's warm, you know you're safe, the doors are locked, and you're just watching these tapes that are horrifying. And you have these feelings creep up your spine of like, maybe I'm not alone. You know, maybe I'm not as safe. But you're wrapped in your blanket in your home, locked in this darkened room, and you're a witness. You're just watching, and it's this weird dichotomy of being comfortable while also being scared. And I love that feeling. It's kind of. I mean, not anymore, because analog horrors aren't like tapes anymore. Now they're just kind of flashes of spooky shit happening. It doesn't feel like you're watching a VHS tape anymore. But, it's not like you're watching a VHS anymore as opposed to just watching scary stuff unfold, which is fine. I still really like analog horrors. But I miss when they were actually... when it actually felt like you were watching tapes, right? I remember Marble Hornets was so good. It almost, like, defined the genre. Marble Hornets did, which is really sick. Which they came back, by the way. I don't know if any of you know. Marble Hornets came back. They're doing Rosswood. I only watched the first episode. I don't know if it still has to do with the Slender Man, or the Operator, as they call him. But, there's like 5 episodes out, so maybe I should snuggle up tonight and watch those, huh? Get my blankets. If I had popcorn, I'd make it. Could be a good time. Creepy and comfy. But back to the story. We know he's like a Satanist that like killed kids. Like, I don't know how it could get any more like substantial. Like, what will happen next? Like, will Satan arrive and like do all that? Which, if that happens, that's fucking stupid. But like, you know, what sort of thing are we going to be like dealing with here? And I guess the only way to find out is to just continue reading. So let's move on to update May 8th, 2010. Last month I finally got my G2 license in Ontario, Canada. This allows you to drive a car by yourself as well as with some passengers after 6 months. I, of course, took advantage of this and drove to Caledon for a little Sunday drive. Since I haven't updated this blog for a while, I figured I might as well visit the house where the infamous channel of my childhood was located. Oh, God. Oh, my God, excuse me. Jesus Christ, that came out of nowhere. Oh, my God, I'm not joking when I said that literally, it felt like the forces of evil had just clawed their way out of my throat out of nowhere. There was no indication. My throat wasn't hurting or tickling. That just exploded out of me. Holy shit. I'm cursed. I'm getting cursed by Mr.Bear's Satan rituals. I'm dying. He doesn't want his secrets out. Oh my God, where was I? Oh, okay. Jesus, holy shit. I gotta skip this as a movie song. I might have to skip this like every fucking time. Alright. Since I haven't updated this blog in a while, I figured I might as well visit the house where the infamous channel of my childhood was located. The house looked different when I last saw it in October. The place was no longer used as a daycare and just sat there abandoned. However, it did have a for sale sign showing that someone still owned it. Wanted to get rid of it, though. Oh, you know what? I know how this could, like, continue, escalate. Mr. Bear is still alive. They never caught him. They don't know if he's dead. He's probably still alive. Actually, at the beginning of the story, he said it came back to haunt him, and he got in contact with him again. And then they just kind of dropped that. Or they're saving it for later. It doesn't make sense, though, because it's written as, like, a blog. But he's talking like he wasn't in contact. He's like, oh, if I know anything, I'll tell you. But, like, he knows Mr. Bear contacted him again. That's what it said in the, like, near the top, right? So that's a little plot hole. The abandoned house drew... The abandoned house drew fuzzy memories from my mind. Mainly of that day my dad took me to visit Mr. Bear. A feeling of dread came upon me. What happened to the children while they were living in that house? I walked up the steps. They were burned, you know this. I walked up to the steps to the front door. Oh, I guess while they were, not after. Okay, sorry. I'm getting too snarky now. I found one plot hole, and now I'm already becoming too snarky. It's still a good story. This is still a fun read. I walked up the steps to the front door and peered through the window. Inside, I could see a nearly empty hallway with a few boxes at the end. At the end of the hallway to the right was an open doorway, presumably leading to the kitchen. To the left were 2 doors, both apparently leading to the rooms visible through the windows outside. I wondered where the cellar entrance was located, and whether it had been sealed up. I walked around to the back of the house and found my answer. 2 wooden doors, lying at an almost flat angle, were padlocked shut. This had to lead to the cellar. Not wanting to hang around, you cannot imagine what was going through my mind at the time, I departed. Behind the house, the empty field continued on until it reached a dense forest that lined the horizon. I wonder if that was the forest where the bodies of the children were found. I thought to myself, fuck it, and I proceeded to walk across the field behind the house into the forest. The forest was oddly quiet, save for the few periodic sounds of a woodpecker drilling into a distant tree. I cautiously made my way deeper into the woods, not really caring about the fact that I had no idea where I was going. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like there was something I had to find. Sorry about the cracking of my hands. I needed to. I don't know. I just automatically my brain went to it. Woodpecker. I curiously made my way deeper into the woods, not really caring about the fact I had no idea where I was going. I don't know how to explain it, but it felt like there was something I had to find. I came to a thinner part of the woods and a few small houses in the distance. Polo's house crossed my mind, and I wondered if one of those homes had belonged to him. I neared a small clearing, in which I could see 3 adequately sized logs gathered around a black, charred area, showing a small fire had been lit there.
Hey! Get the fuck out of my fort!
Those words nearly gave me a heart attack. I turned to my left and saw 2 dark-clothed people running towards me. My initial thought was to run. However, as they came closer, I saw they were really just kids in their early teens. Possibly 13 or 14, maybe even 12. As they approached me, they realized my size as well. I'm 6'1", while they couldn't have been no bigger than 5'8". One might have been 5'7". A 5'8", 12-year-old? Huh? Hold on a second. What is the average height of a? We'll give them the benefit of a doubt of a 13-year-old. The average height of a 13-year-old is 5'1" to 5'2", and these kids were 5'8". Huh? Yeah, 5 feet 2 inches is the average height. These are some tall fucking kids. What the fuck? Okay. Hold on, I'm hearing splooshing. What is my cat doing? Okay, he's drinking. The fucking water fountain broke. It won't, like, pump anymore, so now I have to leave the cap off and they'd have to drink it normally, which is annoying. Because they really like their little fountain. Anyways, he's talking to the giant children. Alright. We said, get the fuck out! The larger one, who was wearing a Slipknot shirt, said half-heartedly. I stood my ground and shrugged. The shorter one, who was wearing a Metallica shirt, swung out a butterfly knife and held it in my direction. What are these punk-ass kids? What the fuck? No. Oh. No. You wouldn't want to, I said in a deep, serious tone, trying to sound as badass as possible. I pulled out my cell phone. The 2 kids withdrew, the one in the Metallica shirt putting away the knife. Look, dude, we don't like people on our fort, so can you just go? The one in the Slipknot shirt said, obviously intimidated. I had no business in the forest anyway, so I uttered out a simple, fine, and I turned before I realized I had a great opportunity. Did either of you hear about the guys who murdered a bunch of kids in these woods around 13 years ago? Imagine being a child. I mean, they're punks, right? They're punks. They're like, get the fuck out of our fort. I have a knife. Woo woo. But like, imagine being like this tough delinquent kid, whatever, and then this not old man, but this adult shows up, isn't intimidated by you at all. And then when you're like, okay, can you just leave? He's like, hey, did you hear about all the kids who died in this area? What in the fuck would you do? Now he's coming off as the creep. I asked the kid, yeah. Did either of you hear about the guy... Reel it in. Did either of you hear of a guy who murdered a bunch of kids in these woods about 13 years ago? I asked the kids. The two looked at each other in confusion before the one wearing a Metallica shirt answered. Yeah, everyone knows about that guy, he said to me as if I were stupid. The kid in the Slipknot shirt continued. He still lives around here, in the storm drain. My big brother's friend says he saw him in a bear costume once, wandering around the forest at night. My instincts told me this was probably a lie, and the owner of Caledon Local 21 is probably long gone, only existing as a folklore in this smaller, isolated community. However, as a human, the thought of the mysterious unknown sparks interest within me. And where's this storm drain? I asked. Just out of curiosity. I don't actually believe the kid's story. The kid in the Metallica shirt stared at me for a few moments, his eyes seemingly full of annoyance, yet curiosity for me. You're not from around here, are you? Why did you even come here? Now, I do admit I was slightly startled by the nature of his question. However, I figured I might as well explain why I was there, just in case people mistook my intentions. I told the two kids about my experience with the man in Caledon Local 21, and that I had to come to maybe seek out some sort of closure. Although, though, even I wasn't exactly sure. The kids seemed familiar with the channel as they smiled and looked at each other when I mentioned it. They also became more understanding and gave me a detailed description on how to get to the storm drain. Shortly after, I decided to just turn around and leave the way I came and head back to the house, leaving the kids at their fort. But now you're probably wondering why I left out such detail about what the kids told me just now. It's because I'm choosing to conclude what I have gathered now. Here's what the kids told me in detail. The storm drain lines ahead of the kids' fort in the same direction I was heading. The drain ends at the small river where access water is drained out. Near here is a small playground. The kids told me people rarely use it. The man supposedly lives in the large pipe that rainwater drains out of. People have seen him, although always either wearing a bear mask or the mask and full-body bear costume. I don't believe this is true, and in fact simply a myth made by the residents of Caledon. The story doesn't seem plausible in any way. Why did no one call the police? Did this guy just look suspicious? And other questions like these leave the story invalid. I may visit the storm drain, not because I believe the story, but because I want an excuse to visit Caledon again. So this blog doesn't die, which, with no more tapes to watch, I don't know what to talk about anymore. Thanks for continuing to support me and my blog. I know many are looking forward to more information about what happened in Caledon during the year 1999, and I'll do my best to continue my research into the topic. Elliot out. Alright. So he is still alive. I completely believe those kids' stories. Are you fucking kidding me? The Satanist bear man is definitely still out there somewhere, causing a ruckus. Did he say that those kids were in robes when they ran at him? I know he said that one had a Slipknot and a Metallica shirt, which, by the way, based children. But, based very weirdly tall children. But, I think he said when they were running at him, they had, like, cloaks? Just dark clothes. So, like, black shirts. Yeah, alright. So, they're not, like, child cultists, as far as I know. I don't know why I thought they were I hear dark clothes, and I think of, like, a robe, for some reason. Alright. Update, October 7th, 2010. Oh, by the way, let me just say, if you like any of the music that you're hearing, they're all by the same guy. I said this the last stream, I'll say it again. They're all by the same guy. They're by Mew, M-Y-U-U. He composed all of these, made the classic creepypasta music, made the classic everything. He, like, all the music that you hear from Mr. Creepypasta's channel are pretty much by this guy. Like, almost all of them. Probably not literally every single one of them. But yeah, all of these are by the same guy. It's by Mew, M-Y-U-U. He also made a game called Post Trauma, very Silent Hill inspired, Silent Hill Resident Evil inspired. And I would recommend playing that as well. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know if it's good. So if it's ass, then don't blame me. But I do plan on playing it eventually because this guy is kind of a legend, especially if you're into creepypastas. This guy is like a legend with how much he's given to the community. He's made creepypasta specific songs as well, like Abandoned by Disney. He made he made a lot of these. He made Laughing Jack, which we listened to when we read that one. So he kind of knows he's the creepypasta guy. But he also does other songs as well. So definitely check him out. He is really good. All of this music is actually like phenomenal to listen to. I'm going to jump again so we have some new songs actually playing. We're going to jump to this one. And let's keep going. Update, October 7th, 2010. Wow, nearly 5 months since I last updated. I'm guessing everyone pretty much thinks I was dead, right? Thankfully I'm not. But in all my seriousness, I really have been busy these past few months. And a blog about something that could have killed me as a kid is a little low on my current priorities list. As of now, I'm living in Waterloo, Ontario, attending the University of Waterloo for computer engineering. Yeah, I'm a keener. As you imagine, engineering is no walk in the park, so obviously I nearly forgot about this blog. But as you can see now, I'm back. I remembered to visit the storm drain the kids from Caledon Forest told me about. It was out in a clearing between the wooded areas, nearby a marsh. Unfortunately, I found absolutely nothing, save for a turtle that retreated into its built-in home when it saw me. I snapped some pics of the pipe, which I have posted as well. Also, let me tell you, it was not a storm drain like they said it was. What I saw was a simple pipe, possibly to channel the excess water from the marsh. When I returned from Caledon, however, I simply kept putting off uploading everything until I forgot all about my blog. It just didn't seem important anymore. Please forgive me. It wasn't until only recently that I'm now interested in the case again. On September 10th, I received an email from this email address. returntheb@hotmail.com. Funny, am I right? Well, it gets better. I'm going to copy and paste the exact email this guy sent me.
Dear Elliot, my dear, dear boy. You see, the story may or may not be true, but it could happen. There are many slots for airtime. If you have money, you can have a public access TV channel. Some public access channels share airtime like EWTN, that shows Catholic-based programming, but during off-air hours have independent shows or just blue screen. Cable networks have empty channels available for rent spaces. So the scenario of a pedo renting a channel on basic TV is not that far-fetched at all. However, public access TV is wildly reviewed and can be terminated at any time. These are not the rules for the United States. These are the rules for the United States, not for Canada, where this story took place. So if this happened in the US, the pedo would be tracked and arrested immediately. That's spelled incorrectly, by the way. E-M-E-D-A-T-L-Y, immediately? Immediately. Oh, maybe it's just a different word entirely. Hold on a second. Hold on. I think it's just a different word entirely. No, it's just giving me immediately, so it's just immediately spelled wrong. Okay. Yes, this story could happen, but it's unlikely. 100 fuzzy hugs, Mr.Bear.
Now, obviously, this letter is fake. It sounds almost corrupted, but still. I would like to thank whoever sent it, though they could use some English lessons. Just reading the letter creeped me out, but because of it, I'm now full of this new interest to continue my blog. I guess it was just funny, trying to pursue the mysteries I've always questioned. Now, my roommate knows about all this. He thought the letter was real and actually seemed more scared than I was for a second. But then I shrugged it off, so he did too. I mean, what are the chances of this being real? How would Mr.Bear know all this about public access TV and about when I went to Caledon on those occasions? More or less know my email or me still being interested in his cellar. I'm gonna send a reply to this, return to the bee. Wow. Just looking at the email address, you can tell someone wanted to freak me out. It didn't really work, though. Although, to whoever you are, thank you for sparking my interest back into the full matter. Maybe I can find out more about what happened to Mr.Bear, and hopefully because, although I don't buy that email, a part of me still feels anxious. Thank you to all those who are still following me and have become avid fans. You're also why I'm choosing to continue this. Thanks, guys. This one's just more sad than scary. I'm gonna jump forward one. Oh god, this is the 12 scary 2-sentence horror stories, scariest stories. I had a glass of milk. Little did they know it came from my creature. Update, November 7th, 2010. Wow, I can't believe this blog hadn't been deleted yet. I haven't posted anything for so long. I have my reasons, and I'd rather not discuss them just yet. It's been a rather traumatic year for me. Some of you are right. I shouldn't have gone back trying to relive the mysteries of childhood, but I couldn't resist. It's been over a year since my last post, and a lot has happened. Let's recap where I'm at right now with regards to the whole Mr.Bear incident. returnthebee@hotmail.com is no longer in use. I tried replying to the email, but I got no reply. I tried again a while back, still no response. I've actually moved up to Ottawa, capital of Canada, for those who don't know, for university, so I haven't been back in Caledon or back home in the Peel region for a while. I had my reasons for leaving, as you could guess why. I've had to make a new email account because people keep prank mailing me, pretending to be Mr.Bear. Thanks a lot, guys. Not. Why have I ventured back to this blog? Mitchell Wilson, remember, my dad's ex-cop friend, he gave me a phone call on October 23rd about a tape that was found in a branch of the Brampton Public Library. Brampton is my hometown, in case you hadn't picked up on that. He claims he isn't allowed to discuss the contents of the tape with me, as it's still in evidence, but he asked me to come check it out when I returned home. That tape got the gears grinding again, because we all know what was on the last tapes I saw. I can only imagine what can be on it. I'm guessing it must have had something to do with Caledon Local 21. Blame Canada. This is a story. Literally, the email guy was like, "This wouldn't happen in the U.S. because they'd be traced." Ha 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 ha. Which, by the way, if that was Mr.Bear, why is this Satanist, child-sacrificing guy? I mean, he's trying to fuck with him, right? But why would he send this being like, "I know about public access TV, haha, hee hee hoo hoo"? But yeah, according to Mr. Bear, this could only ever happen in Canada. I don't know what song this is. And then the next one is Laughing Jack. So I guess I'm gonna have to jump back again. So I have a looping playlist now. I think I know how I'm gonna let this work. When we hit Something's Wrong, we'll jump to Nebula, Soul Rail, and Angst, and then we'll jump back to Revision, and that will kind of be our song loop. I guess I just wanted to say I'm continuing this blog, and thank you for everyone who still follows it. I don't know when my next entry will be, but when I see the tape, I'll write what I find. I don't know what to expect, but the idea of seeing another tape has gotten me interested in this whole mystery all over again. Elliot. Update, January 21st, 2011. It's been a long year for me. University has been giving me the usual sleepless nights, especially since I transferred to Ottawa, which is the place to party. Sarcasm. But now I'm back home with my dad in Brampton. the town I grew up in. I got home on the 18th of December and have been visiting with friends and family, or at least that's what I would rather have done. Now that festive holiday cheer that I usually have at the time this month is absent. To answer the hundreds of emails and comments I got, yes, I did see the tapes that my dad's friend promised to show me. These tapes, however, act as a curse. I want to know more, yet I want to forget everything. I couldn't help it. I needed to see those tapes, not only for myself, but for all of you guys who are just as intrigued as I am by that ominous man in a bear suit from my past. However, after viewing those tapes, I feel that pit of dread deep inside me once again. That feeling where I know that all those kids in those videos are dead, that I could have been one of those kids, and that humanity is a dark, dark place. If you haven't skipped this paragraph for the juicier details below, thank you for listening to my rambling. On January 1st, I called Mitchell Wilson and asked if there was a time where I could come by and view the tapes. Things were pretty slow at the station because of a snowstorm, so he said I could come down anytime that day. The tapes were located at a branch not too far from me, so I braved the slushy roads and terrible Brampton drivers and made my way to the Peel Regional Police Station located at the Bramilla City Center. Oh, Jesus. I always get tripped up when there's new city names interjected in the story. Because it's not like a word you're used to seeing. It's just like a set of letters that are like brand new to your eyes. And so you have to like add it to your vocabulary for the story you're reading. I met Wilson at the front desk, where he then led me up to the second floor and into a small office. He instructed me to have a seat and wait while he went and got the tapes. Before leaving the office, he turned to me and said, "I know you're curious, but are you sure you want to do this?" Wow, humanity can be dark. I wonder what gave it away. A lot of things, my friend. A lot of things. Literally read any history book. Or the news. But hey, there's still light in it. Indomitable human spirit. Not all of us are freaks. I don't know. Humanity's a double-edged sword. I love us, but I hate some of us. Is what it is. But I would say I love us more than I hate us. I think we're a remarkable species who can do amazing things. But like any other animal, there's bad apples in the bunch that are only caring about surviving. In fact, most animal species, while there is capacity for kindness, most animal species kind of only care about themselves because it's survival of the fittest. But us as a species have the capacity for sacrificial kindness, and you know, other animals do as well. I've seen, you know, dogs can sacrifice themselves to save people, and there are animals on the spectrum that have the capacity to self-sacrifice. But I think humans as a species are capable of that in droves because of how much intelligence and emotion that we can experience. No, I think humanity is amazing. We just need to, you know, step up our game and stop being as fucking stupid as we have been the last couple of years. Where was I? Yes, new paragraph. Alright. Of course I did, or at least thought so. Besides, Wilson's friend had pulled a lot of strings to get me in there, and I didn't want to waste the opportunity. This particular station had 2 tapes on hand. I was only able to watch a few minutes of footage, however, because the second tape was apparently too damaged to be played on a VCR. Mr.Bear's Cellar, episode 30. Mr. Bear never ceases to disturb me, especially after what almost happened when I was younger. This episode took place outside in a forest at dusk, making it slightly hard to see, especially considering the quality of the film. A trademark of anything from Caledon Local 21. The episode started with the camera being held in the paws of Mr. Bear, aiming it at himself. That bear mask, it looks more sinister in the shadows of the trees. The unmistakable, muffled voice spoke up.
"Hello, children. Today I'll be doing a wonderful thing for my friends. I'll be delivering them to a faraway land where they will surely be happy."
Mr. Bear turned the camera around to show an ATV with an attached trailer. But what stood out the most was that the trailer contained 7 motionless children lying side by side.
This here's my first load, but more will be on the way soon.
Mr. Bear turned around and pointed the camera at a large burlap tarp spread on the ground. He picked up the tarp, revealing a large hole that must have been at least 12 feet deep, maybe about 15 feet wide. The rest of the episode consisted of Mr. Bear taking each kid and dropping them into the hole. I asked Wilson if they were dead, to which he shook his head and replied, "Not yet." Soon all the kids were in the pit. Some were in awkward positions due to being tossed in, but they remained unconscious.
The vitamin C will surely help these children on the great journey that awaits them,
Mr. Bear mentioned as he panned the camera towards the multiple bottles of gasoline besides a bush. The camera zoomed in on the bottles as Mr. Bear hummed before the episode ended. Wilson revealed to me that these were 7 of the 16 victims found burnt to a crisp. The gasoline is what the man playing Mr. Bear used to light them on fire. A pit full of burning children. Who the fuck would do that? That feeling of dread found me once again when I realized that I could have been one of those kids. Wilson then explained to me that he had previously lied. The other tapes confiscated by the Bramilla Police Branch did indeed work, and contained the filming of the actual burning. However, he felt that I wouldn't be able to handle the disturbing and graphic nature of the episode. And you know what? Maybe I can't. I don't even want to see it. I'm satisfied for now, but I just need some time to get myself together. The thing is, the man who ran Caledon Local 21 is still out there. More to come soon. Elliot. And then INRI, I don't know what that means. But this next bit is like labeled with INRI. It looks like it's a letter. It looks like it's a letter. So. And I think we all know who the letter is from.
Once upon a time, there lived a boy named Elliot. Elliot was a clever boy who loved playing with his friends. One day, he watched a lovely television show about a bear and his children friends. The children loved helping each other as good children should, but they also loved the bear. The bear loved the children since the children were so good at helping him and the fallen angel. The children and the bear wanted to play together forever with the help of their angel friend. But the fallen angel needed even more help, so the children had to give the ultimate sacrifice. Because that's what friends do, Elliot. They help each other. Help us, Elliot. Burn with us, Elliot. I want you, Elliot. He wants you, Elliot. Come back to my cellar. Pretty please? With sugar and icing on top?
Mr. B. Update, April 5th, 2011. I wanted to update more, I truly did. However, certain circumstances have turned me off the whole Caledon Local 21 thing. I've since had hundreds of emails about my blog, and was even in contact with a magazine about my story. But now's the time to come clean to everyone. Where have I been for an entire year? The story of Pandora's box is true, and I opened it. I opened it when I watched the second tape in possession of the Bramilla Police Branch. The other subject I'd like to address is the number of joke and fake emails I've been getting from people claiming to be Mr. Bear. Let's start with the second tape, as that's what traumatized me into... I gotta skip this. This is... Boop. Let's start with the second tape, as that's what traumatized me into stopping my research temporarily. After a few weeks of playing silent, I decided to ask Mitchell Wilson if I could view that infamous second tape he talked about. I don't know why. I just felt that viewing the tape could give me some closure. The video keeps freezing every 2 seconds. Yeah, that's not happening on my end. That's not happening on my end at all. Because I have mod view open so I can see when it's lagging or if something on my end is going wrong, and that I'm not getting that. So I think it's just your internet at the moment. I'm sorry, dude. I wish I had a fix for that. Like some magic over the internet fix. Maybe refresh the stream and see if it does any better. Because sometimes if mine falls behind, I refresh and it just catches up and stops doing that. Also, watching on the app, I don't know if you have the app, watching on the app might be more stable than watching in Safari or in a browser. Where was I? Oh. After a few weeks of playing Silent, I decided to ask Mitchell Wilson if I could view the infamous second tape he talked about. I don't know why, I just felt that viewing the tape would give me some sort of closure. I already read that. Wilson was obviously reluctant to show me, but I was persistent. He gave me an offer. If I was still interested by the time I turned 20, he would show me the tape. Not being able to do much else, I just played the waiting game. By the time my 20th birthday rolled around, I was definitely still interested in viewing the tape. I gave Wilson a call, during which he admitted that he had hoped that I would forget about asking him again, but I was not taking no for an answer. You really don't need to see it, he kept telling me. But I did need to see it. I had to, at this point. Sure enough, he invited me to the Bromla branch on one Monday afternoon. Having watched every Saw film and a video of an animal slaughterhouse in my ethics class, I was sure I'd be able to handle whatever the tape could throw at me. How naive I was. Mr.Bear's Cellar, episode 31. When Wilson went to collect the tapes from evidence, the officer in charge of the evidence room shook his head at me, his face saying, "What are you doing?" Wilson explained that this tape included the last known episode of Mr.Bear's Cellar. I rightfully assumed that I would be seeing the fate of the children and began to feel a sense of dread. The episode opened inside a forest, the usual one from the previous episodes. This fact took me a while to realize because it was night. The trees and leaves just looked like shapes dancing around the darkness. A faint glow of light was present on the right side of the screen. There wasn't any apparent audio. It appeared to be a windy night, yet the trees weren't making any noise. Slowly, the camera began to pan towards the glow, revealing smoke rising from a hole with the tips of flames peeking over the top. Wilson paused at this point. "Are you sure you want to see this?" he asked me. I insisted on it, even though a voice in my head was telling me not to. The video continued. The cameraman moved towards the hole, showing a pit of fire. This was the only hole that I'd seen in the previous episode. This was the hole that I'd seen in the previous episode. Only this time it was filled with shapes. I could see shapes moving around, fluttering, flailing, some motionless. I knew perfectly well what they were. The camera began to adjust to the light, and burning flesh, red, black, a blur of surreal movement and colors. I wish I could forget what I saw, but you can't forget a scene like this. This was not a horror movie, this was reality. Human beings were being killed in a horrifying way, a fate that I could have potentially met. The video suddenly cut to dawn. The camera now positioned farther away from the hole. The fire was out, however there was still smoke rising up. A figure was up ahead. I just reconnected my Wi-Fi and it's a lot better now. There you go. Awesome, awesome, awesome. The fire was out, however there was still smoke rising up. A figure up ahead. I recognized it right away. The Mr. Bear suit was laid out on the ground, empty. It looked just as unnerving. The suit was laid out in the shape of a cross. The cameraman did a lap around the suit, treating it like a treasured artifact. Placed at the head of the suit was a sign in bold red letters. INRI was printed. The cameraman moved back to the end of the suit, zooming into the bear's face. The episode finally ended. I was speechless. It was like a dream. You can't find a lot of terrible things on the internet, but I had never seen... Oh, you can find a lot of terrible things on the internet, but I've never seen anything like this. Wilson asked if I was okay, and I just replied with a shaky... Yeah. I assured him as we left that I was fine, and the video gave me some closure over the whole incident. He didn't seem too confident in me, but he left it at that. He was right, though. I had nightmares for weeks. I gave up. I didn't care about the whole thing anymore. A sick man burned a bunch of kids alive, attracting them with a fake kids TV channel. I could have been one of his victims. Yet I'm still here. I suppose I should be grateful, but I feel guilty. Am I still here only by pure luck? 10 months later, I'm back, but now I need to address something else. My email has been flooded with messages. Some people ask for more details, some ask if I can upload the tapes, and some people email me claiming to be Mr.Bear. First, I cannot get the tapes uploaded as they're A, in police possession as evidence, and B, I have no idea how to transfer VHS onto a computer. As for people pretending to be Mr.Bear, you're not fooling me. When you have dozens of people pretending to be the same person, it doesn't work. I've seen a fake Caloron Local 21 YouTube channel, which is cute, but still not real. Even more annoying is the fact that someone hacked my account just to put up some demented poem about me on this blog. Oh, that wasn't a letter. That was a direct hack of the blog. Oh, shit. Mr. Bear's on his ass. Oh, no. Survivor's Guild? Yeah, Survivor's Guild is one hell of a thing, dude. Holy shit. I'll leave it in the entry above this one, just to show you guys. I've contacted my webmaster about the entry and was told that it was posted on Halloween. Ooh, spooky! Attached to the email, paintwithb@aol.com, which I assume is just another joke email. I'm over episode 31 now. The images of what I saw will stick with me for a while, but I want to do one last hurrah. I will get into contact with Mitchell Wilson again, and hopefully get set up with the tapes in the possession of the other Peel police branches. I'll try to update you guys as soon as I can. I'm sure this won't take long. Thank you to everyone who still reads this. And that is the end. That is the end of the story. There was no new post. There was no continuation from there. So I guess we don't know if Mr. Bear gets them or if... I mean, I guess we saw the burning. That's where else could it go from there? That's where it would end. Or read, but you know what I mean. So, Mr. Bear's Cellar. What did I think? I think it holds up.